It's time for Dents and Dreams, a Paintless Dent Repair podcast focusing on how you can use the fruits of this wonderful trade we call PDR to retrieve your wildest dreams. I'm John Badine, your friendly neighborhood dent reaper and host of Dents and Dreams. Now let's get started. Today we have the all-powerful and most wonderful. You guys might know him as Vince D'Alessandro, but I think moving forward, we're just going to call him Cowboy Vinny. How you doing, Vinny?
Hey, John. What's going on, brother?
You know me, Dents and Dreams, baby. We're just having fun and enjoying the ride.
Dents and Dreams. Well, I appreciate you having me come on.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, most people probably already know you via the wonderful PDR Tool Time podcast, which has been a huge help to me throughout my entire career. And if people go back and listen to episode 1, there might be a couple clips in there from PDR Tool Time and how you guys help me.
Oh,
but why don't you? How does one get started way back in the day, starting a podcast like that?
Starting a podcast like that. Okay. All right. Well, I've always been the guy like behind scenes. I've never really wanted to be, out in the forefront, the lead singer, so to speak. And I was the bass player, just steady grooving man in the background, right? And Mike Toledo had come to me probably 2 or 3 years prior to us starting it and said, "Hey, we need to do a podcast. We need to do a podcast." I'm like, no. I got nothing to talk about. I got nothing to share. And then PDR College came out with theirs, and he's like, "See, we should have started a podcast." And we're like, "Okay, well, let's give it a shot." And at the time, Hailey and Mike were just getting rolling with their whole dent trainer stuff and being partners together in business. And we were friendly with Daniel Grom. Like, hey, let's just make it PDR Tool Time. We'll talk about tools. It's something that we like. And we did a drunk tool review at MTE. Jeez, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And that's what kicked it off. And we have, in 4 years, we've only missed 2 episodes in 4 years. And that's really how it started.
Man, that is impressive. 2 episodes in 4 years. We'll see if we can last this long. And in 3 episodes, I haven't missed an episode, so we're doing good already.
Yeah, you're
yeah, I do, and I do remember those drunk tool reviews. It was classic, and it's grown to an out of hand situation the last couple MTE.
Yeah. The last 2 were not of our drunk tool reviews. Gotten a little backlash from that. Last year was a shit show. Still fun, but definitely the word got out, and we had a nice room, but it turned into a party.
Yeah, yep. Good times had by all, though.
Yeah, good times. I think that's where we spread the initial convention flu around. We all
the conference cough, whatever you want to call it. That was I didn't get hit with it until much later, so I don't know if I can blame it on MTE, but anyway, are you going to MTE this year?
Absolutely, unless they tell me otherwise. If it's shutting down, then we're not going, but otherwise I will be there. I'm going to do a seminar on Thursday on the IMI and on scanning technology, which is vitally important nowadays, and going to get more important with position statements and all that BS that we're going to have to do to make sure that we're doing the repairs properly. And then teaching a class on Saturday, IMI class for those that have signed up for it.
Which I highly recommend. I passed, so anybody is probably going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
Students, though, man, you're a pretty smart guy.
Well, I don't know. Don't give me too much credit there, Vinny. But all right. Anyway, so right now you're working for Anson. How do you go from full-time PDR tech to Cowboy Vinny? I mean, how does this transition come about?
Well, it didn't happen overnight. Unlike my younger self, the moves I make nowadays are very calculated and planned. So I might look like I'm a maniac at times, or flying by the seat of my pants, but really they're pretty calculated and planned out. This move was 18 months in the making. Me moving to Texas, it did not happen overnight. I just happened to hit it at the right time when I moved. California was shutting down from COVID, and everyone's like, "Man, you timed that perfectly." It's like it wasn't really planned. The timing wasn't planned. It just happened to be, perfect timing. But we had they had chosen me. They had asked me to come on board to teach the IMI classes, which is a partnership between TDN in England and Anson. And they wined me and dined me. They brought me out to Texas. They showed me a good time. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably live there. I'm originally from Chicago. I'm a Midwestern guy. It's not too much different down here. The people are nice like the Midwest around here as well. And it was an opportunity. My son was graduating 8th grade, and that was the time to do it. My wife is a California girl. She's never lived anywhere other than California, and she was up for the challenge. So it was like, you know what? We've done well in our lives. We've put a lot of money away. We lived, somewhat within our means, and it's like, you know what? Let's take a chance and see what this road, goes to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I gotta think you taught a few less IMI classes with the COVID than you had planned out.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be playing catch up next year, or how's that gonna? Do you have an idea?
I don't really have a game plan yet. If people want to do like individual classes or onesies, twosies, I'm perfectly fine with that. They're going to have to come to me though. I can't go somewhere to do that. What was nice prior to COVID, I probably went to about I want to say 16 different locations in about a year, maybe a year and a half. It took 16 different locations. Boston was the last one we had. I was there with you.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was back in March, and prior to that, I had just under 200 candidates that had been certified that I under my tenure, and we were on a good roll. You know what I mean? Then COVID happened, and I just finally did my first one this past 2 weeks ago for 5 people. I don't know. It's if you have 10 people or more, I'll travel. I'm safe with how I get through the day with COVID, and I'm pretty confident if I need to go to Minnesota again and teach a whole bunch of guys, I'll go.
Yeah, well, I might have to take it again because things tend to rattle around up here, and we could lose something.
Yeah, but you know what? Once you're taking it once, you can sit in the class anytime you want for a refresher.
So, jackpot.
Yeah,
good to know.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, I'm a little jealous though, because that does sound like fun. Just bouncing around, hanging out with different dent guys, and I'm sure there's a grind aspect to it from the travel standpoint, but getting to hang out with dent guys is always a good time. So,
well, it'll be a little bit different this time, John, because I'm not actually a PDR shop owner anymore. I was doing that on the weekend, so I was running my business during the week and then flying all over the country, all over North America. I did 2 in Canada. It was a little bit of an ass whip, but now I'm just strictly with Anson. So if I need to go, I go. It's no big deal.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, what do we got here? Let's move on to the tools. What's one PDR tool you're loving right now?
Oh man, one tool that I love right now. Well, I'm not fixing a whole bunch of dents, but I am messing around a lot at the shop, and coaching customers that come in and stuff like that. There's a few tools that do you want like a tried and true tool that's just always there, or
whatever you think would bring the most value to our listener. I think there's one.
There's many, but I will tell you one thing that really knocked it out of the park for me this year, which I purchased as soon as it came out, was the Willie Quick cart.
Okay. Yeah. I've been seeing that everywhere, and I can't decide which cart I want. So
I had been waiting for a while to get a TDN cart and really wanted one really bad. And I wasn't sure why I wanted one really bad. You know what I mean? Besides the cool factor of them.
Yeah.
Having everything on in one place. But with the Willie Quick cart, I finally popped on it when it came out, and it's compact. It's everything I needed on that cart. It's easy to roll around. You're working on top panels. It's tall enough that you can just reach over and grab, rather than bend over to a shorter cart. So there's many benefits to it, but
yeah. Well, yeah, and they have so many different little add-ons. So smart guys over there, Rob and Bobby.
Yeah, good people too. I just saw them a couple of weeks ago. They came out for the Dents for Kids thing here in Texas. Not Bobby, but Rob and his wife Melissa had a good time.
Oh, you had a good time for sure, man. I'm so. I wish I would have made it.
You should have, because a lot of that stuff we obviously can't post because of COVID and stuff like that. We don't want to get anyone in trouble.
Yep.
Good times were had.
I'm sure. Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's move on down. What if you had to pick one? What's one PDR question you get all the time that you're sick of?
Well, from a customer standpoint, is why is it so much? You know,
right.
I hate it when questioned like that. You know, it's like, haven't you gone somewhere else first and got a quote at a body shop, or have some general idea of what's this going to cost?
Man, I think people have zero idea. I had a guy call me. He said he had a tiny ding on his Durango fender.
Yeah.
I got there. It was a double 4-inch crease into a super sharp pit.
Sure.
It looked like a comet. And, I put it through the pricing guide. It was like $486. And he just about lost it. He was like, why is it going to be so much? And yada, yada, yada. And he said, well, I can get a fender and paint it for that. And I just laughed. I said, well, yeah, then you should, look into that. I I highly doubt you're going to get that accomplished, but good luck.
What they say that is it like that now I'm being compared to you going and ordering a fender and painting it and removing the old one and putting a new one on. That's your value. Mm-hmm. Your time. Okay. Well, and then the end results, we all know what that looks like, trying to do something yourself, especially paint.
Yeah. When it was a pearl white. So
even better. Just to the hood and into the bumper and door.
Yeah. It was just preposterous. But that's part of the problem. So, then the question becomes like, what can we do as a PDR community to better educate the public?
Sure.
This is a question I've been trying to figure out forever. I would love to see like a Super Bowl commercial, but
I think you would be perfect for the PSA for it. Public service announcement with John Vidine, teaching you all about PDR.
Now I gotta get that little animation. Do 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 with the little star. Yeah, the more you know.
The more you know. Yes. From working at Anson is cool too, because I see tons of technicians coming through that door on a weekly basis, and you know what? The same question applies for dent technicians coming in talking about tools. Why is it so much? How much you charge for a Reaper now? $159 or something?
I think 139 for the ratchet handle.
Right, 139.
Yeah.
$139 for a tool that's probably going to make you 139,000.
I mean, potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So it's absurd sometimes. A lot of technicians don't realize, you know it because you make a tool. What goes into making a tool and R&D, and then the manufacturer. They think that a manufacturer is sitting there waiting for them to bring them here. Can you make this pen and can you do it in 5 minutes and give me a prototype? It takes time.
Yeah. A lot more time than I would have thought initially, but
yeah. I'm still waiting on prototypes from February, from a manufacturer. It's like I haven't even seen the prototype, and I know COVID and everything, but come on, it was February, for crying out loud.
No doubt. Yeah. How long did that take for your mold to get made on the Magnatech mat?
Well, the Magnatech mat is made in the USA. The mold is made in the USA. It didn't come from China.
Okay.
So the mold itself took, from conception to mold, was about 8 months.
Jeez.
And then my first one that I was able to sell that I was somewhat happy with was probably conception to first one was probably a year.
Dang.
I'm still waiting on my patent too, and it's been 3 years now.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta. What do they call those, office items or whatever, where you have to respond? And yeah, that'll be, who knows, but
they'll give it to me, but they just want more money, more money.
Yeah, you want to just respond. How many times are we going to do this? Here's a blank check.
Right. Can you just jump to the end and give me the total? Come on.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's and
we don't sell a lot of tools. It's not like we're making vice grips for the world. We're making a tool that will probably sell a few thousand or several thousand, but not hundreds of thousands.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
be more expensive.
Yeah. Well, and until there's, an Anson across the street from every Home Depot,
right?
It's just not. We're a small niche, so
yeah,
it's hard to get enough volume, to have the kind of margins that people think of when they think of tools. So
you want a funny story?
Yeah.
When I was talking to Home Depot about carrying it, they told me how many they need. They need 30,000 for the stores, right? They need another 30,000 sitting in a warehouse, and they need another 30,000 being manufactured. So that's 90,000 mats that I would have to produce to be carried in Home Depot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing some quick math in my head, and that I wouldn't have that under my mattress. So
right. I don't.
So how does that come about? You actually talked to Home Depot about carrying them? Did they approach you, or
they reached out to me? Snap-on had reached out to me as well. Snap-on's kind of the same deal, but just lesser quantities, but not too much less than that. So yeah, it was interesting. That's when I realized I was way out of my ballpark.
Hot dang. Yeah, that's a hefty investment, but a potentially hefty payoff. So I don't know. I'm sure you'll figure. So what are you going to do? Are you going to just slow growth it, or are you going to end up with a Snap-on or a Home Depot type of distribution model, or what's the dream there?
The dream would be to be bought out by one of those.
Okay.
This bad part about that is it'll probably be made overseas in China or something like that, where they could pump them out. But it's not an easy build. That's why I haven't really been copied yet. It's a very difficult build, and I know you bought a few for Christmas. I appreciate you buying those. I forgot to reach out and thank you for that.
I think you did actually reach out and thank me. But yeah, I just finished the shop here, so I needed to have a couple extras around.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, love that thing. I mean, it's nice to have. I mean, like taking off a hood by yourself or something like that. You can put one in each corner.
Yeah.
And then, obviously I like to put them on the roof or the windshield when I'm working the roof and just have all my tools that I need there.
Yeah. It's funny. I get a bunch of, oddly enough, I get a bunch of gun owners and gunsmiths buying them, but I get a bunch of drone operators, like competition drone. You see it on ESPN or something where they're flying through.
Yeah. They go through those little, it's like the Star Wars run.
Yeah.
They're going through the hoops and stuff.
Yeah. I get a bunch of those guys buying it. I guess, tiny little screws or whatever.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So it's crossing over to different markets. It's a good thing.
Yeah, more markets is better. Yeah. What market could I cross the dent reaper over to? I don't know.
Sprinkler guys to turn the sprinklers on.
I don't know. I'm thinking like a mob enforcer, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. So, man. What do we got? Let's go to the list here before I get myself in trouble. All right, one PDR, either a tech tip or a business tip that you would give to somebody just starting out.
Just starting out. Man, what immediately comes to mind is, don't undercut your prices just to get the work, because it'll kind of set the stage for how you're going to charge people in the future. I know that's one thing I ran into when I left Dent Wizard back in 2000. It's like I felt like I had to lower my prices to get work, and I got stuck in that rut for many years doing so. It wasn't until coming on podcasts and listening to podcasts and listening to the other guys coming on our podcast, it's like, holy shit, I need to get with the times. And then Mobile Tech RX saved my ass. I mean, it was an instant, probably 40% increase in sales once I took on Mobile Tech RX.
Yeah. That's a huge point. I mean, before the pricing guides, you're just shooting from the hip, as you might say over there, Cowboy Vinny. But but yeah, and it's really tough because I'm assuming at Dent Wizard you were mostly wholesale, doing lots and volume style work.
Yeah, I was at LAX Hertz and Budget for 2 years straight, 7 days a week.
Yeah. And then transitioning from that, because I did mostly wholesale in the first portion of my career too, which I think a lot of guys do. But transitioning from wholesale to retail, and you see a dent that you would fix 4 of those dents on one car for $75, and then now you're looking at a retail customer and charge them $150, and it's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But trust me, these people are happy to pay it, and it's a better value than they're going to get anywhere else. And I really learned through some hailstorms that we had here. I was still getting retail calls, and I would go out and, try to price myself out of the job because I had hail cars to tend to. And I couldn't price myself out of some of these jobs. It was like, well, I'm going to have to raise the percentages up on body line or obstructed damage or whatever the case may be. So,
yeah, the go away price. They were taking the go away price.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When I left Dent Wizard in 2000, we were getting $45 a panel at Hertz, our Budget, and $33 a panel at Hertz. So when you had 100 cars lined up a day, I was 25 years old driving a Corvette through the streets of LA. I was a freaking rock star. I was billing $35,000 a month. Oh yeah.
Well, when you have that kind of volume and that kind of setup,
yeah,
it makes sense. Like there's no shame in wholesale, and wholesale pricing is that way because of the volume and the efficiency of it.
Sure.
But when you're driving 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to a customer's house, then you got to properly estimate it. And then, at $30 a panel, $45 a panel, you would be broke pretty dang quick.
Yeah. And it's funny because the Dent Wizard retail prices were always really high when I worked for Dent Wizard. I knew that. And when I left them, I stayed away from wholesale altogether. I started immediately with retail. And not only that, but I also started with and body shops, retail body shops and detail shops. And I would train the detail shops how to sell dents for me. I had one detail shop that would do, this doesn't seem like a lot, but he would do 30 grand a year in PDR, and I was getting 60% of that just to go there twice a week and fix a few dents. That was pretty good for one detail shop. It wasn't even a high detail shop. So training the service writers or detail shops or body shop manager or the service writers and stuff like that, how to sell your product, how to sell you is really key. It's what saved me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've given those cards, those price guides from what's his name, Nathan Pizzo. I've given those to service writers in the past, and I actually should probably order another round of those for the end of the year here. Yeah. Tax write-off tip. Yeah. That's a really valuable tool just to be able to have something tangible. They can measure it. They can look at the factors and price it properly. And I've gotten a ton of work that way. And so when you left with the Wiz, you went pretty much straight retail, but it sounds like you were mobile doing different body shops and stuff. When you transferred into your own shop, how did that go about? Did you have extra help? Was it all on your own? Were you constantly at the shop? How did that transition go?
Well, I've always been really goal oriented, which we talked about, in trying to hit goals and stuff like that. And my goal was to be in a shop by the time I was 40, and I'm 46 now. So 6 years ago when I got my shop, it was still a new trend in PDR that we were getting shops. There wasn't a lot of guys out there. Obviously, Daniel Grom and Don Kavanaugh. No, those guys have been around forever with their shops. But besides that, there might have been just a handful of shops throughout the country, And it's one thing that we promoted a lot on PDR Tool Time was getting a shop and showing or talking about how we transitioned into shops and stuff like that. And it was scary as hell, man. It was like, here I am. I have a lifestyle job. If I want to go home at 1 o'clock, I go home at 1 o'clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have a shop, I no longer have a lifestyle. In my mind, it wasn't a lifestyle job anymore. It was a commitment, but it was also a commitment that I'm going to build something that I could sell. And it's easier to build something you could sell if it's tangible and they could see it. It's a shop rather than just me being the talent.
Right.
So that was my motivation behind it.
So how did the workflow change for you though? Where did you stay mobile for a couple days a week? This is a strategy I've heard of people doing.
Yeah.
Or did you just drop all of that and say, if you want it fixed, you got to bring it to the shop?
Well, prior to getting my shop, I had a painter that I had hired on for Dents No More. Mike was his name. He came on. He was doing bumper repair. We did a 60-40 split. Everything was good. And then I got the shop. So mobile, I would go Tuesdays and Thursdays. I hadn't worked a weekend in probably 15 years. I just don't want to work weekends. My weekends are for my family. So I would make sure that Mike would be there on Tuesdays and Thursdays to talk to any walk-ins that came in.
Yeah.
And then, I would go out and do my mobile, but the transition was probably up until the last year, I still was doing mobile on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Just because I grew up being a mobile guy. I didn't want to be in the shop 5 days a week,
Yeah. I like that model. I'm flirting with the idea of getting a shop for myself, and I have a hard time imagine staying in one place all day, every day, because I've been mobile for my entire career. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that transition, but I like that idea. Stay mobile a couple days a week, get somebody to cover for 2 days a week.
You sound like everyone else that's thinking about taking that leap. I mean, when Toledo called me up, hey, I'm going to get a shop. I'm like, let's do it, man. He's like, oh, I don't want to be tied down to a shop. You can't get Mike to leave his shop now.
Yeah. Well, he's a different animal. I mean, now he can set up all those fancy cameras and
yeah.
That's got to be, that's a dream for him.
But it's one of those things that if you build it, they will come with proper advertisement. You can't just piss off advertisement 100%, but you have to do something. And, if you're not there, you put a sign up there. Hey, I'll be back. Text me a picture of the damage. If they want you to work on their car bad enough, they will text you the picture of the damage, or they'll wait till you're there the next day. Happened all the time. Just even when I went out to lunch, I would miss a walk-in.
Right.
And they would either stick around or come back the next day. At the end of the day, it's just a dent in the car, right?
True enough. But if we look at it that way, just dents in cars has done a lot for me.
Right.
So, oh man,
that's one thing that you learn when you move to Texas. They get you drinking Pedialyte.
Pedialyte.
Yeah.
Did you have a rough evening?
I didn't. I had like one little Texas mule with watching a movie last night, but it keeps you hydrated.
Yeah, well, the electrolytes are good. Well, you're going to sweat in Texas, I would imagine, but not in December, right?
No, I'm not sweating. It's a little bit chilly. It's nice. Probably 43 degrees out. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Surprisingly, we're not going to have a white Christmas in Minnesota, and I can only remember like one or two my entire life that haven't been white Christmases. So
global warming, man. Global warming.
Well, I guess I'm properly positioned because way up here, it's nice not to be at 20 below.
I have never been my coldest than when I had a layover in Minnesota about 10 or 15 years ago. I got off that plane. I thought Chicago was cold. Holy hell, man. I thought I'd entered like the frozen tundra. It was crazy cold.
Yeah, we'll get typically a couple of snaps a year where it's steady below zero for a good solid week, and when that wind starts whipping, you better have several layers on because it'll cut through anything.
I remember that even Chicago negative. I remember being out on not fixing dents in -30, but having to walk lots in -30 to bring them inside. $1 renter car, myself and Dave Shalott back in 95, 96, we'd be running around O'Hare Airport in Carhartts with the sled. We had our plastic sleds and $1 renter car. We would take a windshield wiper off the car to clean off the cars. Didn't give a shit about scratching them. We were just there to fix the dents.
Mm-hmm. Man. Yeah. I mean, looking back, now, if it's below 20, I go to my accounts and say, I'm not walking anything. If you have an emergency, let's pull it inside and we'll take care of it. But I used to go a lot harder. And the older I get, the more I realize it's just not necessary.
And then the older you get, the more a shop seems pretty enticing as well.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely top of mind for me. I don't know. I think it'll just have to be the right scenario. I think what I really want is to be able to buy the shop and own the real estate.
Well, John Vidine needs to buy the shop and lease it to Gray Duck Dent. That's how you do that.
Okay.
Gray Duck Dent pays John Vidine to lease out that spot.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard of it that way. See, I'm learning stuff already.
Yep.
Love it. Yeah, that's a good plan. Did you own the real estate for your shop, or where did you hear or come up with this little trick?
No, I didn't. I rented only because I wasn't fearful if I was going to make it or not. And 6 years, actually, it's still going. I sold my business to my painter, and when you're out in California, it's a different animal. I mean, rent or buying stuff out there is outrageously priced. So buying wasn't even an option for me. So I leased out a place, and when I leased it 6 years ago, I was only paying $1,500 a month for 2,100 square feet. So when I left, I think it's up to, I think we were paying $1,650 or $1,680 a month. That's nothing. That's unheard of.
Super cheap.
So
way cheaper than I can get here.
Yeah. So, and that's in Orange County, right off of two major freeways next to John Wayne Airport, Newport Beach, everything. So we weren't going to give that up.
Yeah, that's a slamming deal. Holy moly.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I'm looking at, this is the crux of it. So if I'm going to buy a shop, basically the down payment I need for that, I could almost pay off my house with.
Right.
So do I buy myself more work so that I can build it and eventually have an exit strategy, or just pay off my house and when winter comes, say, I don't have a shop or a house payment, so I'm not coming to fix your dents until it warms up.
I'm no accountant, John, but I'll tell you what, this is unprecedented right now, the last 5 to 10 years, how cheap it is to borrow money. So if you were going to do anything, I would suggest buying property and doing that, because mortgage payments and interest rates are never, ever, ever going to be, it's impossible. You can't go any lower than what they are. So they're only going to go up. So I would leverage that money to buy. I have two houses. I sold one house in California, but I have two houses, one in Texas, one in California. I'm not going to discuss finances with those, but I'm doing all right. Not on there, at least. I'll tell you privately.
I can imagine. It sounds like a good gig if you can get it. You probably positioned yourself properly along the way, and cheers to you.
Yeah, but it's all about risk. Buying, going out on your own, leaving the company. Learning PDR for the first time. These are all risks that some people they don't want to do it. They don't have that in them, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with working 8 to 5.
Well, depending. I don't know. I don't think I could go back, but to each their own.
Exactly.
So how did this Cowboy Vinny come about? Was this all just having fun at the shop? And I mean, I love it when you do those videos. It's so awesome.
Well, it came about with my buddy Mike Toledo. Called me Cowboy Vinny. I'm going to call you Cowboy Vinny now. He comes up with nicknames for a lot of people. Lisa Dyer, Craig Dyer's wife, is called Cupcakes because she makes the world's best cupcakes. No joke. Cookies and cupcakes. Out of this world. She should own a bakery. He just throws out these nicknames that they kind of stick, right? And we call her Cupcakes to this day. And there's a few others that I can't think of right now, but he's like, he called me Cowboy Vinny, and I laughed about it. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of funny. And I think I'm going to do something with that, right? And I thought I was going to be offending real cowboys or Texans, doing it. But they get a kick out of it, man, because they know that I'm a stupid friggin' Yankee from Chicago originally and by way of California. So they laugh at me, and I'm one that I don't mind people laughing at me. So we were looking around the shop. I'm like, man, I got to do a video with this whole Cowboy Vinny thing. I got to develop it. And Anson, the number one thing that is sold at Anson is hole plugs. It is hole plug.
Not for me.
No, never. I don't know. I don't. So they sell them by the tens of thousands. Anson started before they sold a single dent tool. They started selling hole plugs. They have a national distribution for the company for hole plugs and gaskets and stuff like that. Gaskets are gone away now, but we do sell the crap out of hole plugs. So I just started scripting it and writing it. And one of these days I'll throw out the blooper reel. The blooper reel is 10 times better than that video.
You should sell that. That's got to be a pay-per-view situation. I'll give you my credit card number right now if I can watch the blooper reel.
Right? It's I didn't even think about it. I started deleting the bad takes, and they're like, no, keep that. You got to do a blooper video. I'm like, no, man, I'm already throwing myself out looking like an idiot. But it's pretty funny. I'll put one together one day. But I didn't want to dilute it too much. We did the whole instead of just Black Friday, we did the whole month of November, and I threw out a video for every week. And I don't want to dilute it that much that people are like, there's Cowboy Vinny again. So I'm taking a little break right now. But
Cowboy Vinny's bringing in a herd of cattle. He's currently unavailable.
But I did have some muses for that. I was watching other videos on YouTube, and if you're from Texas or if you're listening from Texas, everyone knows Jim Adler. He's the Texas lawyer, and he if you look it up and you'll see the resemblance in that. But he's loud and proud, and he's not meant to be funny, but he's pretty freaking funny.
Yeah. Well, there's an old guy from Minneapolis, Fancy Ray.
Uh-huh.
He did commercials for a lot of people, and he's very boisterous. We'll put it that way. And your Cowboy Vinny videos, they got a twinge of Fancy Ray in them. So maybe YouTube that. Maybe you'll get some inspiration.
Yeah, I should. Out in California, it was Cal Worthington. Go see Cal. He had dealerships all over the country, but he would come riding in on the back of an elephant or a lion, and it was go see Cal down at Cal Worthington Ford, in Bellflower, California. Fun stuff.
Yeah. Do you think Anson will foot the bill for a lion or an elephant for you to ride?
Well, do you know what they would? That's one thing. The crew at Anson, I don't know what it was like before me, but we have a lot of fun there.
I can only imagine. They're awesome to hang out with.
Yeah, and they do not spare expenses when it has to do with fun. They will not miss a party if there's a party. You had.
Love it.
Yeah.
Vinny on an elephant coming to you soon. I'm calling Craig right after we get off of this. Oh, snap.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Super good stuff. Let's see. Have we gone over everything? Oh, I got to do a quote of the week. I didn't really even get this ready. Hopefully I have one on deck.
A quote of the week. Not from me, right?
No. I've been doing it.
What I want to say is I appreciate you doing this, and having a podcast. It's not easy work, doing them. But I will tell you, if any piece of advice is to just be consistent with it, because that's one thing that has made PDR Tool Time successful all these years is being consistent. If something goes wrong and it doesn't go up on a Tuesday, our phones are blowing up with text messages and where's my episode? Hey,
where's my hit? I need my PDR Tool Time hit. Yeah.
So even though sometimes it's not always riveting content every week, we're there every week regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. That's That is one thing I've noticed, and one reason I decided to not do a live show. Just too many logistics to nail down, and you know, I'm finding out quickly that getting somebody to be able to sit in front of their computer for an hour is it's kind of a big ask. So I appreciate you coming on, but I know so.
I know.
So
I don't necessarily like talking about myself. I have declined other interviews, but I love and respect you, John, and I'll come on anytime you want me to.
Hey, man. I don't. If I didn't say it earlier, I really, in episode 1, there was that moment where I played, like, I've saved this forever. The first time in episode 125 that you talked about the Dent Reaper, like, I can remember I had to pull over, Vinny. I was fucking jumping up and down. It was a magic moment, and I was just like, holy crap. My Facebook went crazy. The website wasn't quite dialed in, so I had to get everything set up properly. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how it would have grown without that, but I do know that it went
bonkers
after that. So it's a much appreciated shout out there. And
yeah, well, Dents and Dreams, man. Dents and Dreams.
Yes, sir.
Not only that, but it's a great tool. That your Dent Reapers have made me a lot of money. And they're great. They're absolutely great.
Well, shucks, I appreciate you saying so, Benny.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here's a good one.
Okay.
So here's the quote of the week. Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish. The time will pass anyway.
Wow. Who said that, Yoda?
Earl Nightingale.
Oh, okay.
If you're familiar with him, he's got some interesting books out there. But, I guess that goes back to, like you were saying, with waiting on these patent office items and waiting on the molds and waiting on the this and the that. I mean, I've got several tools in R&D, and you got to be patient and you got to push through, and good things will happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the guys that I looked up to prior to moving out here is Craig Dyer. He's very patient, man, and very. We actually, here's a funny story. He hates me telling you this, but I'm going to tell it anyways. We those wristbands that they used to wear, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
What would Craig do? Right? Because he is so even keeled and slow moving all the time, yet he runs on a different time like the rest of the world yet he gets everything accomplished and done without the stress of like what I'm used to, running around doing everything and doing this, and I got to do that and this and this. He sits there with his notepad, writes everything down he needs to do for the day, and just boom, 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 checks it off. And he's always happy, And one of the things is when we're driving, if you're ever in the car with Craig Dyer, plan on it being probably about 10 to 15 minutes longer than it has to be, maybe an hour. Like I drove up to A1 Tools with them, and I'm like, holy hell, are we ever going to get there and back? Semis are flying past us, 100 miles an hour. It felt like 100 because we were only going 20 in the 65 zone. He's on his own time. And being from LA, we drive like idiots out here in Texas. People drive like idiots in Texas anyways. But we added a different aspect to it. And so we have, myself and my wife, we say, what would Craig do right now? We need to slow down. So,
WWCD. Maybe that's the merch item for MTE this year.
Right? WWCD.
Love it. Yeah, I can see that. He's definitely an even keeled guy, and but yeah, if you're taking steps in the right direction, it doesn't matter how how slow if you just keep taking them. So
yeah, it's going to happen.
Well, super duper. Anything I missed, Vinny?
Geez, not really. I got nothing to promote. You know, everyone knows I have a mat out there. You could buy it anywhere, pretty much. You don't have to buy it from my website. You can buy it from a retailer. Keep on watching and liking my cowboy videos when they come out. Full time when you're not listening to John. That's about it.
Yeah, listen to PDR Tool Time first, then Dents and Dreams. I mean, that's the order I would go. But I'm just one guy here. But I think a lot of people would agree. But yeah, listen to the show, watch the videos, and Vinny's a great dude. If you need to learn about hybrids, electric cars, get them into your shop, get a group of guys together, and you'll all be smarter for it. So, man, really, really appreciate you doing this. And
anytime, John.
Say thank you much. And everybody go out there and live your dream. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Vinny.
Hey, Merry Christmas.